Notice how the scriptures are written as though they are specifically for those living in the last days. We're going to look at a couple verses here, and I think it'll really open your mind to this concept. Notice it says, "Be ye also patient." Why? Establish your hearts, for the coming of the Lord draweth nigh, or near. The Lord's coming is near, James is saying. Well, the Lord's coming is not near except for in the last days. It says also, "Do not grudge against one another. Behold, lest ye be condemned. Behold, the judge standeth before the door." In other words, the judgment is coming on you. So be patient. Be mindful, because the Lord is coming soon. The judge is standing at the door. Notice this scripture also. 1 Corinthians 10 talks about the children of Israel. Yes, the children of Israel in the Exodus. He says, "Moreover, brethren, I would that you should not be ignorant." In other words, he says, I don't want you to be ignorant how that all our fathers were under the cloud. That's the cloud that guided them through the wilderness, and all passed through the sea, and were all baptized unto Moses in the cloud and in the sea. Talking about the crossing of the Red Sea experience. But notice what he unfolds in the next passage. He says they all did eat that spiritual meat. That's talking about the manna that they complained about. He says they did all drink from that spiritual drink, for they drank of that spiritual rock that followed them, and that rock was Christ. They drank from the water that came from the rock. But notice this. It says, "With many of them God was not well pleased, for they were overthrown in the wilderness." What were they overthrown for? They whined and complained constantly. Read Exodus 15, 16, 17, 18, all the way through to Numbers chapter 16. And then the Balaam conflict with and Baal-peor. They complained all the way up till they entered the promised land. What's the promised land a type of? Heaven. The promised land is a type of heaven. And it was right there on the shores of Baal-peor, right before they entered the promised land, that they were tempted with having an orgy with Midianite women. So right before they entered the promised land, sexual sin was a big issue. Do we have a problem with sexual sin these days? Is pornography not a major issue as we stand on the borders of the true heavenly Canaan? I think it is, because notice this. Now these things were our examples, to the intent that we should not lust after evil things as they also lusted. He says also, don't be idolaters as they were. And that's talking about the golden calf there. Don't commit fornication. That's referring to Baal-peor. And then notice this, it says, do not murmur. It says all these things happen to them for ensamples, upon whom the ends of the world are come. These are written for people in the last